Welcome back to OpenLine, talking with two Tennessee lawmakers about medical marijuana. We have Representative Jeremy Faison from Cosby, Tennessee, Senator Steve Dickerson from Nashville, Dr. Steve Dickerson. They are both introducing a bill in the Tennessee legislature that would legalize medical marijuana. We have a bunch of calls, so let's go to the phones. Let's go to Sandra. Hello, Sandra.
Hello.
Hi, go right ahead.
Hi. I have complex regional pain syndrome type 1. I had an accident. I shattered my right ring finger severely, and I moved down here from Illinois. Illinois had medical marijuana. Here, I am not being treated. I do not want the narcotics. That does nothing for me. It has horrible side effects, so I choose nothing. What can I do to help pass this bill?
All right, so here you have a supporter saying, what can she do to help pass this bill? Who wants to take that?
So, I assume she lives in Nashville, or I actually may not, maybe someplace in Middle Tennessee.
Where do you live, Sandra?
I live in Eastern Tennessee.
Eastern Tennessee? Well, so, in all seriousness, call your House member, call your state Senate member. Try to schedule a visit with either him or her whenever they come by, whenever they're back in the district, and tell your story. I think Jeremy and I are convinced that the data are very clear on this. That is, there are illnesses that need to be treated with cannabis that are currently not being treated. What we're trying to do, though, is impress that upon the members of the General Assembly we serve with. These are folks, again, who sort of are thinking it's back in the 70s or 80s and this is some big Cheech and Chong movie or something. It is not that. This is a medical issue, and patients like Sandra are, I think, going to be the ones that help us break through. And so if she's still on the line, I'd be curious what form she took it. And I'm not sure if she is, but I'd love to know.
Are you still there, Sandra?
Yes, I am.
So what form did you take the drug in Illinois?
Edible, flour, soap, oil, and that done tremendous for me. It wasn't about getting high, like the stereotype like everyone thinks. It was nothing like that, like anyone thinks.
Okay, all right.
Sandra, so I'll say what she has, the illness, and I won't spell it out for you, but it used to be called reflex sympathetic dystrophy, was the old name, is an injury to the nervous system, and it usually occurs with trauma. And some of the most difficult, some of the most really appreciative patients, if you find something to help them, these are people whose lives are adversely impacted in ways that the three of us can hardly understand. If you find some way to help those patients, it is a life-changing event. And so she is almost the poster child for why we brought this bill.
Okay. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to say, interesting that, Sandra, that you didn't want to take the opiates or the traditional pain medicines that are available, that are legally available. And I want your listeners your viewers to think about this. The opiates that we're given, prescribing today, we just found out last month that one person every 19 minutes in America is overdosing. Now, I want your listeners to go, and I will encourage them to find one person in the last 19 months who's overdosed to the medical use of marijuana. I want them to find one person in the last 19 years who've overdosed to the medical use of this plant. When you start doing research, you realize, you know what? This plant isn't the problem. We were told it was the problem. This plant's not the problem.
I'm interested in your argument coming at it from the opiate abuse. I mean, because that's a huge problem.
It's massive. In East Tennessee, where I'm from.
Oh yeah, in East Tennessee, where you're from. There have been attempts to maybe rein in some of that, and I think there is resistance from the pharmaceutical industry on some levels. Are you encountering that when you talk about medical marijuana?
So far, the pharmaceuticals have not approached me. I have done extensive research, to understand how we got here in the first place and why we demonized this plant in the 30s. Listen, it used to be available at the drugstore. You could walk into a drugstore and get marijuana at your local drugstore in 1930. So I have seen that there have been large corporations, pharmaceuticals, who have fought this hardcore. And they did what they can to buy legislation to stop competition. Let's be honest, this plant, this botanical, offers an alternative that a synthetic, man-made chemical put together in a lab just cannot produce.
Okay.
And that really echoes my experience because currently Marinol, which is synthetic THC, that's one of the active chemicals in marijuana. Synthetic THC is available, and I have some pain patients who are on that, and they do not find it as beneficial as the natural plant.
Interesting. All right, let's go to Hunter. Hello, Hunter.
Hello.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, my question was in regards to some of the approved medical conditions that will be on this bill.
Right.
And my question is, I, for example, have Crohn's disease, and I have tried many types of treatment, immunosuppressants, steroids, all types of medications that have given me terrible side effects and not really helped put my Crohn's disease in remission. And I currently take CBD oil daily, and accompanied with THC, that has shown to be like the best treatment for my Crohn's disease. So my question is, will Crohn's disease and other forms of IBD be considered medically acceptable for medical marijuana?
All right, let's talk about that.
Great. So IBD and inflammatory bowel diseases, and actually Crohn's and ulcerative colitis are the two best known forms of that. And if you think about them at their root, they're inflammatory illnesses, and cannabis, and it's some combination of THC, which is again the best known compound. It's the psychoactive compound, and the one he mentioned, CBD, which is cannabidiol. Some combination of those has been shown to be anti-inflammatory. And so in fact, what we're discussing now, and to actually ask, sort of answer a larger question, which illnesses are going to be there originally, and then what mechanism are we going to have to add illnesses down the road? And we're working that out. But I will tell Hunter, in fact, he's not the first IBD patient to have contacted me. I was on the fence about that to begin with, and actually I'm leaning more towards including it now than I was before. He's always been like that. I don't want to put words in my colleague's mouth, but he's always been supportive of it, and I actually have tried to research the data a little more on that. The trick for us legislatively is not to be too expansive, because if you claim that this botanical, as he called it, treats everything, well, I mean, there's no compound that treats everything. So we want to be a little more narrow and make sure that everything that we trot out with our first iteration of the bill can be substantiated by medical literature.
And is that how this bill, and I know you haven't filed it yet, right, is that how it's going to go? You're going to have to list out every condition that...
So we can't anticipate every condition because studies are ongoing. So what we're going to do is try to, I think, list out the ones that are substantiated the best, and then have a mechanism that does not have to come back through the General Assembly to add. Now, one of the alternatives is that we actually delineate none of them and let a panel that we're going to set up later, once the bill gets passed, go ahead and go sequentially from seizure disorder to cancer, neuropathy, maybe Crohn's disease. And I'll be blunt, we haven't quite worked that part out, because we really want, again, what's best for Tennesseans. And so what's best for Tennesseans is to get this bill passed as promptly as possible and make it as inclusive as possible. And so we're trying to thread the needle here, and I'm not sure what our best strategy is yet. We're working that out.
It would be thread the needle, because then there's some, again, lawmakers who are not eager to have this at all, and if it's too broad, they say, well, this is just, this is not what we want.
Yep.
So that's
It's an uphill battle.
Let's go to Scott. Hello, Scott.
Hello, how are you doing?
Great, go right ahead.
I'd like to thank both of y'all for having enough compassion, at least to try to get this bill pushed through. I've been in pain for well over 20 years. I've had both hips replaced at 40 and both knees at 48, and I've got arthritis. I got severe degenerative arthritis throughout my body. I've got it in my low back and spine. If I fall down in the middle of the floor, I can't get up by myself. I've got to crawl over to something to get up. But I just, in the state of Tennessee, they are taking, I've been on opioids for 17 years now. And since 2014, they've started cutting them down. They have cut me down. My level before they started was 605. And they have cut me down 465 milligrams of morphine equivalent. They need to have something. I mean, dadgum, you're killing people that's already in pain. just imagine being in pain and having to cut down that much in the meds, because the meds is a hard thing just to get off of.
All right, I'm going to get a comment from the. Did you want a question, or you just want the comment?
I'm just pretty much commenting. They need to have medical marijuana.
All right. What do you think about that?
Scott, first of all, I want you to know I'm sorry you're going through that type of pain. I've met people through my travels now all through Tennessee who are struggling deeply. And I want you and the viewers to ask yourself a question. The people who are against what we're doing, they would say, Jeremy, this is just going to turn into wreck use, or there's going to be higher traffic fatalities, or there's going to be potentially homes torn apart because of marijuana. I want to ask you a question. When is the FDA, when they were approving of a drug such as what Scott is on, morphine and opiates, do they add into the equation what are the potential harms to society? I want you to ask yourself, if we actually ask ourselves what is the potential harm to society, there would be very few prescriptions allowed anymore in America. There wouldn't be any opiates. There wouldn't be painkillers anymore. And what I want you to find out is you understand this plant, the potential of harm that it can do to society or to an individual is nowhere even close to the same area or parameter that the potential of harm of some psychotropic drugs like Abilify or Zoloft or these opiates can cause to people. So bravo, Scott, for being brave enough to call in. And I want your viewers to think, do we really want to continue to demonize a plant that doesn't offer anywhere near the negative side effects that opiates do?
All right, we have to take a break. Bunch of calls. Billy, Martin, Diana, others. Hold on the line. We'll take a break and be back right after this.